It's Dusty Sage, and I'm here at Disneyland at long last. I have been a million places other than Disneyland in the last 3 weeks. I was in Barcelona, Spain on the first Disney Vacation Club cruise in the Mediterranean. Then I was in Fort Lauderdale to sail off on the beautiful Disney Magic to Disney's brand new tropical paradise called Lookout Key on the island of Eleuthera. And directly from that cruise straight to Walt Disney World to experience Tiana's Bayou adventure for myself and not through somebody else's video. Plus all sorts of news and things going on that it is time for us to address. And also some very heartfelt words from me towards the end of this video that I am not going to start with because I will never make it through to the end if I do. But I'm so glad to have you all with me today. I am here at the train station, and Walt always said that Disneyland was sort of like a movie. It had a beginning. The train station is really the beginning of our adventure. So today I'm starting here, and I'll tell you why at the end of our video. Some celebrations today. Matterhorn is 65 years old. We're going to go over and take a look, see if it's still relevant in today's age. 65 years later, do people still love the Matterhorn? We're going to go look and see. We're going to walk by Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and I'm going to tell you my real, honest-to-goodness thoughts about the attraction and what I think could be done with it in the future. We'll talk a little bit about joy and sadness and anger and all the emotions because Inside Out 2 launched today, and it is projected to bring in some blockbuster numbers for Disney. Disney rolled out a new character today, Anger. He's not actually a new character, but he's new to Disneyland, and he started meeting guests today. We also have some other things to discuss as we go through some new tiki mugs and all sorts of things going on. They even decided to stop selling magic keys. What could be going on at the happiest place on earth? Well, I'm going to turn this here camera around. We're going to see for ourselves. There. I have trouble with the simplest things. Here we are on the train station, and we're going to walk down these stairs and head into adventure. You know, no matter your age or your activity level or disability, Disneyland makes it fairly easy for you to enjoy the park. So there are different levels of activity for those who want them. So you don't have to ride the Matterhorn or Space Mountain. There are rides like the train. There used to be a people mover, sadly gone. The castle walkthrough, Pirates of the Caribbean, Haunted Mansion, It's a Small World. So many things that are enjoyable by people that don't want a big thrill. I like just wandering around and people watching and eating. There are many days that I spend the better part of a day here at the park and don't ride any rides at all. It's still Pixar Fest to everyone. It's less and less obvious as you go through the parks because really, aside from a little bit of decor and some nighttime activities here at Disneyland, there is no real Pixar Fest. So a little bit of food in some of the shops that are inspired by Pixar characters, and then at night there's the fireworks. I can never remember if it's Better Together or Together Forever. All the names are better and forever and together. But you get the point. There's fireworks, and they're Pixar themed. Over at DCA, they've got the parade and some food booths for now, though we hear they're not doing so well, so they may do some cutbacks there. And they've made some cutbacks to a little bit of the entertainment for Pixar Fest. The DJ and dancers over at the Pixar, oh golly, and now I just had it in the Pixar, what is it? It's like the little rave that they do at night, only it wasn't a rave, and so people got mad and didn't go. So they got rid of the DJ and the dancers, but they left some cars where you can sit and watch a movie and some cheap cardboard games that you can play where you can't win any prizes. We're also going to talk today a little bit about some other cuts that have been going on. Doctor Strange has strangely been cut. The show from California Adventures Avengers Campus. He is still going to be out in the park meeting with guests, but his little show in the ancient sanctum has been cut. Why? We're not entirely sure, because the character himself is still going to be in the land, so they still have the expense of that character, but they no longer have the expense of his stagehands, all the people running the show. Was it a great show? No, it was not. But in a park that has cut almost all of its big stage shows, Hyperion Theater is empty this summer. It's hard to justify the closing of any more entertainment in the park. But there are some new things that are coming up for Celebrate Soulfully. There's some nighttime events for Pride Month. So there are still a lot of things going on here at the happiest place on earth. I can never pass the balloons without taking a look. I love them. Nothing makes me happier than a balloon, and I need a little bit of happy, folks. Strictly Speaking just sent us a whole lot of love, and we sincerely appreciate that. While I'm walking you towards Adventures, Gravity, weeks ago, found out that the owner of the house that I was renting for a long time and had a lot of stuff at was selling the house, and because of all the travels I had coming up and a little bit of surgery, I wasn't sure I would be able to move later, so I hurried up and moved all the way to Palm Springs. But don't worry, even though it's about 2.5 hours away, as it was today getting here, I'm still going to be here every Friday. So, and then whenever they have a press event or when I'm needed, so you'll still get your Friday lives. I just have a lot more wear and tear on my car and a lot of gas. So this is the view, folks. It's really what it's all about. Just a couple of days ago, in fact, this morning, I was in Orlando. I left Orlando at 6 a.m. I left my hotel at 1:30 a.m. to take the little tram with my luggage to the port kosher of the hotel I was staying in, Saratoga Springs, to wait for the Mears bus to take me to the airport for a 6 a.m. flight to a layover in Texas. Made it back to Palm Springs, then got on the road, 2.5 hour drive to get to Disneyland to make it to the live, just in the nick of time. But I'm glad to be here, even though it's almost 90 degrees here at Disneyland today. It was 119 at my house in Palm Springs. So this feels like air conditioning to me. Orlando was equally hot and humid and stormy. Horrible, horrible storms in the southern part of Florida. In fact, where I had started my trip in Fort Lauderdale, inundated. Orlando, we had some big storms one of the days. A little bit of entertainment still going on. Not a big stage production, but a small one. The Beauty and the Beast production. It's a very funny little show. They do some other shows in that theater as well. So 2 different shows a day in there. Definitely recommend. I just wish they were doing a real show in the Fantasyland Theater and a real show in the Hyperion Theater. Over at Walt Disney World, they're announcing all sorts of new entertainment. They redid their Country Bears show. It'll be all Disney music, but it's being recorded by country and western stars, so it'll be in keeping with the Country Bears. In fact, the Bare Necessities will be one of the songs. Try Everything from Zootopia will be one of the songs. It does sound, I got to hear one of the singers, I can't remember her name, perform it live while I was there at the press event. It sounded great. They're also getting a new Little Mermaid blacklight show. So they had one at the Studios Park for quite some time. but they closed it, and the new show coming back is going to use some modern technologies. Now I'm going to stop here and show you this shooting exposition for just a second, because something weird is happening in Florida. They are closing their shooting exposition. And they're turning it into a Disney Vacation Club lounge. And we already have a Disney Vacation Club lounge at Disneyland. It's on the upper floor of the old Innovations building. But if they ever tear that building down, could we lose our shooting arcade? Well, it's possible. Disney doesn't like things like guns anymore. They Photoshop cigarettes out of Walt's photos. Times have changed. It is possible that away could go the guns in the shooting arcade. For a while they tried to get rid of them on the Jungle Cruise as well. Remember when the skippers were using their fingers and pointing them into the air to shoot the hippos in the trees? This is all I did while I was at Disney World. When I wasn't at my press activities, and they had me scheduled during the event from 6 or 7 a.m. until 10 or 11 or midnight one night, like crazy event schedule I've never been through before. It was absolutely wild. But when the event ended, I stayed 2 extra days. And on those 2 days, I just wandered. So I got some terrible news during those days. Actually, the last day of my press event kind of knocked the wind out of me. I wasn't sure how I was going to move forward from this news that we'll talk about later. So I decided to go to the park, and I posted a little poll on my personal Facebook page and also on my personal Instagram. If you don't follow my personal pages, please do. And I just took my friends and personal followers on a tour of the Magic Kingdom and then another one of Epcot, and I just talked for hours. Hours live, wandering through the park. And it's when I feel my most comfortable, is just when I'm in the parks like this. I feel like this is my second home in a way. Disneyland has been through so much. I have been through so much. But it's still largely the same experience it was when Walt Disney built it. The idea of this park is the same. How it's run is very different. Some of the attractions change and then come back again. Swiss Family Robinson's Treehouse became Tarzan and is now pretty close to what it was like when it was Swiss Family. That idea returned. Pirates of the Caribbean, a stalwart favorite of fans with a 30-minute line, snakes out the front gate there. Tom Sawyer's Island added a few pirates after the success of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. But it's still an island that you can run around on and go through caves. And of course, Walt loved the idea of New Orleans. In fact, they made him an honorary citizen of the city. I think they even gave him a key to the city. And the idea of New Orleans has now grown because Princess and the Frog is now important to the Imagineers, and they've added a Eudora chic boutique in the back here. Tiana has her own restaurant right in front of us. Then there's the Haunted Mansion, and then on the other side of Mansion, out on the outskirts of New Orleans, in Critter Country, you find Tiana's Bayou Adventure, which I just got to ride many times. Friends, I was just listening to the band playing here in New Orleans and looking at the beautiful Disneyland Rose, and then something even better looking than the Disneyland Rose showed up. Our good friend, David, yeah?
Hello.
Cohete boy also. Can you remind me, David, what did that name come from? That was your old Mice Chat screen name.
It came from my Spanish homework. Coyote is like a rocket to the moon, and I just became a rocket boy.
You're a rocket boy.
Yeah.
In Spanish.
In Spanish.
Yeah. It's very Chinese of you.
Yeah.
Here we are at the Haunted Mansion. I know that's one of your favorite rides.
Yeah.
What do you think about these here changes that we're looking at in the pictures?
Well, they're not going to listen to me, but I didn't think it was that necessary. I think some of the things are needed, but losing that little fountain and the...
So the fountain would have been right about here, and then it was a circle, and there were some chairs and big trees, and it was a nice quiet spot to sit.
Yeah.
Only in recent years, you really couldn't sit there very often because it turned into a queue, overflow queue for Mansion, particularly after they added Lightning Lane to it. But it looks like they're gonna have the band opened up on this area so that you can maybe hear them and see them a little better, even if you're not dining at the restaurant.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how they do that because then their backs are towards the people in the restaurant.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know
Two of the guys are facing one direction, two in the other.
I don't know about the popcorn stand way back
Right
there
in
either.
front of the stairs. Here are the stairs to the train station and the popcorn cart right in front of it.
But
I'm sure this is all going to be different. Popcorn
all
cart's probably going to be over there.
Artist concept only, so
yeah.
it may not happen.
But they are adding little fountains in, like these steps here meant for people to sit on with the fountain there. And then you'll see that in the queue for Mansion, which is right here, there's another little fountain. So they know they've removed water and they're trying to add some additional water type elements in. These statues, there was one statue of this type that was in the Fast Pass garden, and it looks like they've added another one here, or something similar to that. But what I'm excited about is it looks like they're expanding the idea of the pet cemetery. So as you wander through, the pets kind of have more space through the pet cemetery. So some pet cemetery stuff down here. You see there's a covered arbor type thing down there. So the queue is going to be expansive and windy, very hidden with lots of things to explore. That I like. I hated the Haunted Mansion switchback in the back. I like the front. That big sweeping semicircle was neat. But then you got to the back and it was just a horrible switchback.
Yeah.
So that could be maybe a plus.
That was only necessary during the Haunted Mansion holiday days, kind of. So it'll be interesting to see how it does when I mean, of course, when it reopens, everyone will want to go on it again. But.
Yeah, and there are going to be some little changes, we understand. David, have you tried the new chocolate chip cookies
I have,
here?
but not the dip. There's a new dip they added to it. I haven't
What?
tried it.
A dip?
I haven't tried it yet.
David, there's a dip?
No, I mean,
What kind of a dip?
Well, let's find out.
It's crazy. I didn't know about this dip. Chocolate chip cookies. They don't mention a dip.
Yeah. I don't know. Someone just told me about one.
Don't believe someone, David. Someone lies. Oh, I see something up ahead that I spent a lot of time with this week. We'll tell you that when I was at Magic Kingdom, they have a little shop called Memento Mori that looks a lot like this. And it's filled with haunted goodness. I don't hate this at all. I'm not sure it 100% matches the look of the mansion next door.
It looks a little bit like Frozen.
A little bit. Maybe one day when they add the Frozen characters to the mansion and it becomes Arendelle, all of this will make sense. Is that what you're telling me?
Maybe. What does it say?
It says Elvira slept here. I don't know. Just blah, blah, blah. Eileen, I think I see Elvira. Does look like Elvira's signature.
Could be.
I don't know. It's definitely not Elvira, folks. Nor are Anna and Elsa coming to the Haunted Mansion. David's just trying to scare you. David, shame on you. Shame on you for scaring these people. I didn't even ask David if he was going to join me. I just made him do it. You don't mind joining us?
I'm here, aren't I?
Yep. But I'm going to have you walk on that side of me because I think the microphone is there. And that way, as we walk, they can hear both of us.
Okay.
So I'm just moving into the shade. This is kind of shady. So we can look at that giant salt dome. David, when you look at this salt dome, do you think to yourself that that is a great idea for a ride?
Not exactly.
What do you think?
I mean, I look at the history of salt mines and it's not a great one. So
No. In fact, the history of salt mines and how they were mined was done by largely slaves. And one of the reasons that Disney wanted to get rid of Splash Mountain was what they perceived to be some problematic connotations with slavery and how it was presented in the film. In fact, so much so that the Disney company has not re-released that film in generations. And yet they chose to put this ride, this new ride, in a salt dome. That's weird.
And there's nothing like that in the Bayou either.
No, there are no mountains in the Bayou. And there are some actual salt domes, but a salt dome you wouldn't even always know is there. They usually look like an indentation in the ground because the salt, when it's mined, will sometimes then collapse and leave like a little lake behind. So they usually don't present, in fact, they never present like this. It would have looked better with Mama Odie's boat on top, because then by magic, Mama Odie could have just tried to get herself a better view of the Bayou. I'm just going to tell you all now, we're going to walk into an even shadier spot, and I'm going to tell you about my ride on Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and then my second ride and my third ride, and why I had to take a second and a third ride. Because it isn't encouraging, but I have to tell you. And we can't go back too far, David, because they are ripping this place up, and all of this is about to close. So on July 1st, my birthday, don't forget it, folks, most important day of the year, all of this is closing because they have a lot more work to do in the area around here. So they're closing this walkway to Galaxy's Edge. They're closing Hungry Bear. It's getting a refurbishment. And then Tiana's walkway area is being completely done. The two shops are being redone. And I can tell you from seeing the two shops at Walt Disney World that the new shops here should be really nice. They did a lot of work on the two shops at Walt Disney World. They're better than the way they looked before.
Are they are the same over here?
Be different names, same idea.
What are their names?
The Critter Co-op over there, and I can't remember what the names are here. Ray's Berets, I think, is one of them. And
that's what we're getting here.
Yeah, can't remember what the names are for any of the shops, but look at all of the green stuff on the mountain there. See how they've made it look. Well, first there's the foliage, but they've painted on top of all the red stuff there what looks like green moss growing on the red salt structure. I don't know, David. So, they did a little celebration in Florida. Then they walked me over to the ride. I ran in, I got myself right up front in line, and then we waited. David, we waited for about an hour and a half. They couldn't get the audio working properly. Finally, they told the media, well, we have some other content opportunities for you. Maybe there'll be a chance for you to ride later. And they cleared the queue, but one person stayed in line. Do you know who that person was?
Is that you?
It was me. I refused to leave. I'd come all the way around the world to ride that ride. I'd already waited an hour and a half, and I didn't care how long I was going to have to wait. I was not going to be moved. And sure enough, it opened up about maybe another hour and a half later, so I'd waited altogether 3 hours, just like you all will soon be waiting for this ride. And off I went. And do you know, David, that 12-minute ride took about 30 minutes because it kept stopping. And they did a silly thing. They installed these mounts on the logs so that the bloggers and influencers and travel agents and all those people that they invited to the event could put their own cameras on the front of the log. But to do that, a crew needed to come in, mount the camera, then zip tie it, And then every time somebody left a log, they had to come in, cut the zip tie, remove the camera. So it was taking a lot of extra time to load and unload the logs, which made the ride back up inside, which meant that my 12-minute ride was a 30-minute ride. And then the audio started going bad in the ride, and the mouths weren't synced up to the lyrics, and it made for a less than optimal experience on the ride. Here's what I liked. Does anyone want to know what I think? Probably not. But here's what I thought. It is gorgeous. When you walk into the queue, the new queue is fantastic. There's all sorts of kitchen stuff from Tiana's, but a lot of history and photos of her as a little girl with her parents, and a letter from her dad that made me cry. And it looks really great. A lot of backstory. Then you get on the ride, and it still looks great. There's the Bayou. But you start to realize problems almost right away. Why are we going into the Bayou? Well, Tiana's off to the left on the second lift hill, the one where you're going through the mill. And she says something about, oh, we forgot the music. Lewis is up ahead. Go catch up with him and find us a band. Well, you're trying to find a critter band in the Bayou. So that's the whole premise of the ride. And you float through and you see Tiana and Lewis, and then you see a band of critters, and then you see another band of critters, and then you see fireflies. And then all of a sudden, there's Mama Odie, and she says, I'm gonna make you little. Why? We don't know, but she makes you little. And then you're in a room, you know, where the bees used to be, and then you splash down again and you're in the room where don't go into the laughing place. But now it's just the fireflies playing their music and it's all happy. And then for no reason at all, Mama Odie says, now it's time to make you big. The bigger your heart, the bigger the splash. And then you splash down into what used to be the Briar Patch and is now just Bayou. And then the big Mardi Gras celebration at the end, and it ends with Mama Odie and her little snake, Juju, trying to steal the beignets. Is it all cute? Yes. Is it well done? Absolutely. Are the animatronics amazing? They sure are. Is the music good? Yep, I enjoyed it. But it all just doesn't gel. Too many long stretches of nothing. The story is too simple for a thrill ride. The setup to the drop makes no sense to me. When they've got, are you ready? And I got friends on the other side. Would have been the perfect build-up to the lift and the eventual drop. That they didn't do that they didn't build any kind of tension whatsoever or give you a reason why you're being lifted and then dropped is sort of mind-boggling. And I think that's what people are stuck on right now. Pirates starts with those big, long, sections of nothing where you're floating through a bayou and then you drop and then you're in caves with a bunch of dead pirates where nothing's really happening, and then finally the battle scene with the ships. So it's not unprecedented for rides you love to have sort of slow starts, but they need to build to something, and this ride doesn't. So I am hoping that the Imagineers realize this now, that they are working on an eventual fix, and that sometime in the next few years, as part of some sort of celebration, they will add this new ending section, but they have to do it in a way, of course, because they're Disney, that doesn't make it feel like they were pressured into it. Always has to make it seem like they did it because they wanted to. So I'm leaving them that out. And those are my thoughts on the ride, folks. The last little thing I'm going to leave you with: incomprehensible and unacceptable that a ride about a princess doesn't show her as a princess anywhere in the ride. I think at the very end, either at the celebration or at the very end of the ride, you should finally see her as a princess. And then after the ride is over, there should be a place where she can meet and greet with guests as a princess, because that is definitely how little girls want to see her. All right, I'm off my soapbox. We've talked enough about this ride. It is definitely coming to us soon. I am looking forward to seeing how it integrates here at Disneyland, but I have a feeling that the guests here are going to be even more brutal about it than the ones in Florida. Obviously, in Florida, you have a lot of tourists from all over the world, maybe only visit Disney World once in their whole lives. Do they understand the backstory of Tiana? Probably not. Do they care? Nope, they just want to ride a log ride. But here at Disneyland, it's a lot different. You've got people who grew up at Disneyland. They grew up with Splash Mountain. It is part of their history. And if you're going to remove it, you need to remove it with something that was better than the ride that was there before. that's when Disney runs into trouble. So for example, I was very upset when they closed Tower of Terror, but I loved Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. So, you know, that's an example of building something that, is it better? Some will say yes, some will say no, but it is a very, very fun ride. And, you know, almost everybody recognizes they made some improvements to the ride system, and it's very upbeat, fun show. I wish they had done that with Tiana. Into the Breach. This is that new little pathway they created to connect the backside of the park here that used to be a cul-de-sac. In the early days of the Mice Chat forums, we used to argue about everything. Any excuse for a topic for people to debate and argue about. One of them was always, would it be possible to connect Critter Country, which was a cul-de-sac, and Toontown, which was a cul-de-sac, together somehow, or let them be connected to the rest of the park? And the answer was usually no, there's just no way, because backstage is back there beyond the berm, or you would have to build a bridge over the back of the river and it would destroy the way the river looked. Disney did it. They leveled those buildings that were back there and the ranch, moved the ranch elsewhere, whole nother city. And they took over that space and made it park. And because of that, they were able to open up this pathway and connect Critter Country, which now has increased the traffic to Critter Country and this restaurant right over here, the Hungry Bear. So it worked for them. They spent the money and it worked. Yeah, I'm not going to go on a rant again about Galaxy's Edge, but I will tell you that Walt Disney World is going to get a big old chunk of money. And we've been talking a lot about the $60 billion with a B. 60 billion, folks. I want you to think about that kind of money. You could build a space station. $60 billion in 10 years. And where will they be spending that money? Well, we know they're going to spend a couple billion at minimum at Disneyland. They're going to have to spend more than that. I think Disneyland's going to get 7 billion, I mean. Disney World is getting over $17 billion. So Disneyland and Disney World together are getting over $20 billion of the $60 billion. The rest is going to go to things like new cruise ships, new parks, resorts, and experiences in parks overseas, and quite possibly whole new resort destinations in other parts of the world that Disney hasn't been before. So I did get to talk to the VP or the president of the Walt Disney World Resort, and he was so excited. I said, wow, Jeff, you're getting a ton of money, like almost a third of the $60 billion that Disney's going to spend in the next 10 years. Are you excited about it? And he says, oh, I wish I could tell you, but I have a feeling you're going to hear a lot about it at D23. It's going to be like a whole new experience in 10 years, in just a decade. So they're well along in their planning for all sorts of new things. They are building a Central America pavilion at Animal Kingdom, which will have Encanto and Indiana Jones. They are going to build beyond Big Thunder new lands, mini lands that have all sorts of attractions in them. Epcot will very likely get some additional things as well, including perhaps a new World Showcase pavilion or two, some new rides. So that even though they're done with their current evolution plan, it's not done with its evolution. Studios definitely still needs help, and I think they know that. It is going to get a Little Mermaid ride, like I told you earlier. And I think there's a fifth park on the way. In fact, Disney sought zoning approval for it and received it from Florida, from that theme park zoning board that took over from the Reedy Creek Development District. So Ron DeSantis has finally relented and given up on his hatred of Disney and unanimous approval of Disney's plans to spend $17+ billion on a new park, multiple new smaller parks, which would be things like water parks, mini golf courses, etc., and on all sorts of new hotel rooms, tons of new hotel rooms, like nearly doubling the number of hotel rooms. It's very exciting for Disney World. Also exciting for Disneyland because when the Imagineers use money for Disney World to develop things, a lot of times it ends up here as well. 2 Tianas, 2 Galaxy's Edges. And I think we're going to finally see a fix for Galaxy's Edge. One of my favorite things in the world is Baby Grogu.
Looks like you've made a friend. You seem pretty sharp. How would you like to work on a starfighter engine?
Oh, you want to work on a starfighter engine? Yeah.
My friend Pelly is looking for a good assistant. I'll tell her I might have found one. Enjoyed the time. Farewell now. Didn't expect a welcome party. Next.
That is too fun. Those are the kinds of character meet and greets that work for me. He's just wandering around. He's providing atmosphere, streetmosphere for this land, which desperately needs it. Get a few more characters like that wandering around and doing things. Maybe some show type things, people running around on the things and falling off and stuff. Periodically, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
David, this is your land.
Is it?
Yeah. You're the big Star Wars fan.
I am.
So this is your land.
Okay.
You love it?
I own it.
You own it.
Mine.
It's yours.
It's mine. These are welcome to my land.
Are you ready for it to evolve?
Yeah, like when it opened.
Yeah. Are you ready for it to be unlocked so that Darth Vader can be here?
I think it'll be all right.
And if you could have one thing here, what do you want?
More, I think it needs another attraction. It needs more characters, creatures. Random creatures. It doesn't have to be anyone famous.
Maybe just a bantha that occasionally walks through.
Yeah, bantha. There's a lot of different Star Wars aliens that they can use. You know, like even the Star Cruiser aliens that they're not using anymore. They should like have like a temporary set.
Once in a while, one of those aliens should walk into Oga's
Yeah.
and just order a drink.
Yeah. I think
And then
so.
Oga should show up and banter with him. And then yell at the staff for not working hard enough.
They should make an Oga. They should make a Cookie, one of the chefs
Yeah.
of the docking bay, you know, and then a walk around Hondo would be fun.
Oh, I always like a walk around Hondo.
And a Doc Ondar maybe.
I want to see C-3PO.
Especially if he's not in the shop, if he's curtained up,
Yeah.
they should have a walk around Doc Ondar when he's curtained up, when the animatronics not working.
Aren't they big and awkward?
Yeah, but that would be cool.
I agree. What do you think was originally supposed to go up there where those ugly red curtains are?
That's a good question.
That balcony has been up there since day one. The first day it was open and then they had the curtains closed pretty quickly thereafter. You have to imagine that something is up there.
Yeah, it'd be like a break room.
Well, now, but I wonder what it was. You know, almost everything here was originally planned to be something and then half of it ended up being empty because they just ran out of money because they spent so much money on rocks. So they made the physical environment perfect. They even cut back on this. Remember the concept art showed like little dwellings up in the petrified forest up there. They cut back on that. But it's still very expensive what they physically built. So they had to cut something. So logically, they cut the thing people want most, the rides and the entertainment.
The heart and soul.
I said I wasn't going to complain about the land, and yet here I am. I can't help myself. I'm a stone cold bitch. Here we are at the Millennium Falcon. It's the biggest hunk of junk in the galaxy.
Piece of junk.
That is a piece of junk. Yep. I like the guests that get into it. This guy and his daughter. His daughter is Rey. He's one of the Jedi. Bright suns. Literally bright.
I don't
Very
think
bright.
he's a spy. I don't think he's a spy.
I'm definitely a spy, but
Whose side are you on? I promise he's quite kind.
yeah, but we can still be friends, right?
No.
Oh no.
Wait, Are you with the First Order?
Unless you're. Yeah.
Oh, no. No, not
Are
really.
you a spy for the resistance?
Let's just say, wherever the money is where I am.
You're for the credits.
Oh,
I am for the credits.
Oh, wait.
No
Yeah.
credits here.
Yeah.
Look at this place.
I have this friend, his name is Greedo. I don't know if you've ever met him, but he taught me when I was very young that always go for the
The
credits.
value of credits.
I think he
Yeah.
died a long
Over the
time
safety
ago.
of the resistance.
I'm old.
I mean, of the galaxy.
You get credits over the safety of the galaxy.
Yeah,
Yeah, it got him killed, you know.
that's right.
Line a line more with the First Order.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm thinking that too. We'll just keep an eye on you then.
It was nice to run into you.
Yeah,
Let
we'll
me
check
know
it.
if there are any opportunities for me. Hi, how are you wearing Gumball Rally?
I am.
Oh my gosh, the way to represent.
That's
I
right.
love it.
Always.
Mwah.
Mwah.
You love it when you run into Mice Chat Reader and she's wearing our swag. That's fun. Yeah, David, I think they either need to expand Oga's Cantina or build that dinner theater, or both,
Yeah.
or build a second bar cantina kind of a place on the other side of the land. Maybe one that focuses more on the evil side of things.
Bounty hunters.
Bounty hunters. So it can look different. Yep. I think that's a real one, David. I think that's a real pork.
There's a pork?
Yep, they taste like chicken.
Wait, no, I lost my pork. Do you see a pork?
There is a pork
Where?
right above you.
Oh.
They're
I
always
didn't know he
escaping.
was there. I didn't know he was there. He went missing. I don't know what to tell you.
They're
He escapes all the time.
everywhere in the Falcon. They're just eating through
I
the insulation,
know.
everything.
It's Chewy's fault though because he brought them back.
Oh,
So
actually,
you know if it wasn't for Chewy bringing them back, but then also he eats them.
yeah.
It's okay. Mine are all delicious snacks, or at least that's what I'm raising them for. So it's fine. It's fine.
I'm off to get some blue milk.
Enjoy. Thank you for drinking local.
Handsome.
A lot of interaction here today. Too bad the land is so hot. Trying to stay in the shade. In la shade. Green milk, blue milk, or no milk? What is your preference? David?
Yes.
We have a mission. We are headed over to the Splatterhorn.
Okay.
It is suffering a 65th anniversary today.
It sure is. as well as the monorail and the submarine voyage.
Yes.
And then Alice in Wonderland celebrates a birthday this year as well. Today.
Really? What is it?
It's 66.
Today?
Yeah.
So they opened. Oh yeah, not
Like a
the
year.
yeah, a year later.
A year ahead or something.
Wait, 65th for the Matterhorn. If it's 66 for Allison, it opened a year before.
Right.
Look at that. Look at me trying to do math. It's almost like I'm bending
Don't
space
quote me
and
on that.
time.
When that ride opened in Alice in Wonderland.
That, you know, that is my top 5 rides in the whole resort.
I love that thing.
Anda likes the blue milk. The blue milk tastes like Axe body spray smells. The green milk tastes the way that those little toilet bowl cakes smell.
Which is worse.
They both have that weird chemical-y kind of taste to them. I'm not a fan of either. I would like them to reinvent both. Maybe add some popping pearls as an option.
Maybe add
Definitely.
dairy to it.
No dairy.
That's why it doesn't taste like milk.
Milk does not do my body good.
No milk will ever be our milk.
I don't know where you're going with that, and I'm going to drop it.
It's a Billy Madison reference.
Join the cavalry, David. It's your civic duty.
Have a courageous friend. being spied on.
I know, I was just noticing that. It's so obvious. There's a little spy camera up in the turquoise window up there. What's her name? Vi Marathi or V Marathi? Vi Marathi. She was the chick with the blue hair that was very upset with me. And she would not have liked that spy camera. She wouldn't. So David, what else do we have on our list of things that we need to make sure to mention before our time expires?
Did you cover the new Silhouette Studio on Main Street already?
No, and I walked right by it. You know the Silhouette Studio that everybody waits hours in line for, folks, on Main Street, USA? So popular that they've added an artist into the Disney Gallery. So you can get your silhouette done. And they just cut them out. It's really incredible how they do it.
It is, and it's very inexpensive too.
Well, David, if I ran this park, I would say if it's popular, let's triple the price.
You talked about the stage where the Golden Horseshoe celebrates something.
No, we walked right by it and I didn't say a word. They have fired the piano player in the Golden Horseshoe. Of course, it's just been death by a million cuts for the poor horseshoe over the years. It used to have the Golden Horseshoe Review, then it had Billy Hill and the Hillbillies, then it had some dueling piano players for a little while, short period of time. It had that wonderful Woody's Roundup show. Do you remember Woody's Roundup?
Yeah.
Oh, it's good. I loved it.
It rounded you up?
It rounded me right up, but it only lasted about a year. And then there were some piano players for years, and they had what was the name of that troupe of funny?
Laughing Stock.
Laughing Stock was in there forever.
They were great.
Yeah. Laughing Stock, and then Billy Hill.
But you had a person in drag, people would complain now.
Oh my gosh, people. Am I right? People. There's no winning with people. But now there was nothing, and there's still kind of nothing, but they just put a bunch of like props on the stage for Celebrate Soulfully about jazz. Are you kidding me, David? We'll never get through here now.
Just started to.
But we'll catch the first crossover, and then these folks will get to see a little bit of magic happening. And we'll watch the teacups until we vomit.
Come on down, friends. First Small World and Toontown. Continue on to the side.
You want to talk about the cuts and entertainment budgets?
I did that.
Okay.
And then I have something I need to show them here at the Matterhorn. We're going to enjoy the view here. We're going to take a little twirl. You see the parade in the background. Enjoy this view because it's a very Disneyland moment. Yeah, I loved Laughing Stock too. That was a fun show. They ended up, most of them, over at Knott's Berry Farm in various capacities. A few of them still work here at Disneyland in different roles. But Billy Hill and the Hillbillies, they ended up over at Knott's. Knott's hires a lot of the old Disneyland entertainment when Disneyland decides it's too old school. So David claims that Alice in Wonderland over there, celebrating an anniversary today. I don't disbelieve you, David. It is a wonderful ride, even after all the injustices they've done. But they have also done some wonderful things to it. They added some background projections. I think it's the best example of projections. There's Moana. I walked through her water playground at Epcot with you all earlier in the week. Is that Wednesday or Thursday? See that on my personal page, the one where I go to Epcot. Even though it was packed, we were able to, they're moving us forward because we're taking the little cut through after the, what do you call them, David? The Cackamoras? Cackamoras, those little guys, little coconut guys.
Sounds like they're coming back to the new movie too.
They have to. They're the Ewoks of that film. Lori Carlson says we need a new dragon for Fantasmic, and I think we can all agree to that. I'll drink to that.
Speaking of drinks and Matterhorn,
There's a new tiki mug.
Yeah.
Where?
Trader Sam's Enchanted Tiki Bar on June 20th.
So it's an abdominal snowman.
Abominable.
It's the abdominal snowman. And there's another one, Matterhorn related, coming. We're already at Club 33, I hear, and it looks like Yeti's footprint.
Yes.
They kind of go together, right?
Yeah. The artist of that one is Van Tiki, based out of Eugene, Oregon, and he wanted to replicate the little footprint that you have in front of the ride and behind, and he calls it kind of a relic, and it's a bowl.
So these are kind of some newer elements that have been added when they redid the queue after the park closures, and they made this all look nicer. And David, it is packed over here. This is a 2-hour wait for the oldest tubular steel roller coaster in America. Look at that. Would you mind taking a picture of that for me, David? I think that's incredible. There's the magic being made, everybody. You know that'll end up in the Monday update. When a ride that is 65 years old can pull in a 2-hour wait, that's saying something. Bob Gurr's a good friend of mine. He talks a lot about this ride because they didn't know what they were doing when they built it. No computers to help them. They just had to build a model and kind of send ball bearings down and see what would happen. It opened and nothing worked the way they thought it would, so they had to install those tires to keep the ride going. So throughout the ride, you'll see a bunch of spinning tires. That was Bob's way of fixing the problem of the ride valleying and getting stuck and all of that. Pretty smart. Also helps regulate the speed of the vehicles, keeps it pretty steady. And at the bottom, they needed to come up with a clever way to brake the ride. There was no real braking systems for a ride like this back then. Came up with the idea of just putting a pool of water, using nature to slow the ride down. Of course, it's very, very, very important that they keep that water level just right so the vehicles don't come flying through and hit each other. Nowadays, it has real brake run, so there's no real risk today, but there would have been back in the day. They lost their submarines in Florida. We're very, very lucky to still have them here, but I did ride the Nemo ride at Walt Disney World. It is not in the Magic Kingdom, David.
No.
It's at Epcot.
Yes.
Epcot. The Living Seas. And they took some clam shell type of ride vehicles like you'd find in The Little Mermaid, and they did the entire ride that we have here inside the Epcot. Much higher capacity, better air conditioning. I like their version better.
It is a more comfortable ride, but I enjoy seeing our submarine voyage more.
I want them to make this an actual lagoon with fish, real live swimming fish, like they have at Legoland.
You know what they should do?
What should they do?
They should tie in National Geographic and bring it back to the actual wildlife.
David, now you're only making sense. That makes so much sense.
And then use the HD, you have like real live schools of fish.
And if you think about Tomorrowland, it should really be about environmentalism, because if we are to have a future, we need to figure out what's going on with our world. Epic flooding and hurricanes and heat, and there's no denying now that this whole world is baking. And I think that an environmentalism theme would make a lot of sense for that ride. Tie in National Geographic, I love it. Maybe bring back the idea of Nemo subs from Florida and make them Nemo subs even. As long as it has an octopus in it, I'll be happy. My favorite animals are
Now available on Disney Plus, Secrets of the Octopus.
Octopi and owls. In fact, I want to, when I retire, open a bar called The Owl and the Octopus.
okay.
Not Hooters. That's been done, David. It's like a fairly long wait. It's not a great ride to wait for on a hot day because
It's also the 65th anniversary of the submarine voyage.
it is, and the 65th anniversary of the monorail.
It's right way up there.
There it is, the monorail. I was gonna say Autopia, but it's definitely not the anniversary of Autopia.
Do you think they'll ever do anything with interventions? Or...
Yes, they have to. This building is collapsing. Someday this building needs to come down. I think we're gonna see that happen in the not too distant future of the future. Welcome to the future, David, or should I say, your future.
Thank you.
Star Wars Launch Bay. They're proud to tell you all about an attraction that does not exist anymore. Welcome to Star Wars Launch Bay, that is perpetually closed and now part of the Dreamers Academy.
You launch into Darth Vader.
Yeah, but Darth Vader is just like in this little alcove. So sad. It does have a Disney Vacation Club upstairs, but it's really just props and stuff up there, so they could easily remove it all. Wouldn't be a big deal. They could move it upstairs above the Starcade, which they're using as Space Mountain queue, or downstairs in the lower section of Starcade. Make that a lounge. Easy peasy. 65 years for the Splatterhorn. Hard to believe. Now here's something I meant to ask you earlier and I got carried away. Do you think they should rebuild the Matterhorn with smoother coaster technology, or is it so historic that it should forever remain a herky-jerky tubular steel coaster?
I think it's so historic, you gotta leave it.
Forever. No matter how many necks and backs you break.
Yep.
All right. But do you think they should make the vehicles then smoother by giving them more shock absorbers or something?
That would change the whole feel of the ride. I like how it's
So leave it
Yeah.
herky-jerky.
Leave it the way it is.
All right. Old people like me should just stay off of it.
Yeah, get
Yes.
off of your own lawn.
That's right. Get off of my lawn. Look at this Zerg churro holder. David, is that a thing? David. I'll show you all here in a second. Here he is. Look at this. It's Zerg. And he's holding a churro.
It's just a toy.
It's just a toy?
Yeah.
You can't buy that?
You could buy it in the Star Command.
But I need this one.
Well, you can't.
All right.
It's unsanitary.
David spends a lot of time yelling at me. I have been delaying the end of this video. We did see this when we had Molly join us, and wasn't she amazing? For those of you that saw the video where Molly Bray joined me, she's an even bigger Star Wars fan than David is.
What?
Yes, David, you're not the only Star Wars fan in the galaxy.
There's a lot of us.
I like to think I'm a Star Wars fan, and then she starts talking names of characters, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But now you have to answer like, oh, what kind of Star Wars fan are you?
Yeah. I only like the animated ones. Or the comic books.
That's fine.
That's not me, actually.
Astro Orbiter not working today?
It broke, and it's just back from a major refurb, so it only makes sense that it wouldn't be working.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yes, it was this orbit. No.
Could be somebody vomited or something. They haven't had a chance to clean it up, but there's no cast members, see? Maybe they walked off the job.
Floated out into space.
There is the Master Services Union. Their contract is up, I believe, this weekend. And they are negotiating with Disney, so expect some potential labor actions and picketing on Harbor Boulevard.
Yeah, some labor action.
They want to have the same pay rate as some of the other departments in the company, We will see what happens for the baby ducks. David. The tiny baby ducks.
Do you think the goose will come and eat the babies?
Probably. It's the circle of life.
Birds eat birds. That's the truth.
The circle of life, which is really where this video is headed, folks. So, here, turn around, David. Not that direction. You're next to me. David is also good friends with a certain gentleman that we're going to talk about here, because I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today if it weren't for a man named Lutz. And way back before there was an internet, and some of you folks are too young to remember an age before the internet, but I assure you, it existed. When I was a little boy, we had books, and we liked it that way. And if you wanted to find out about Disneyland, you needed to read newspaper articles or travel agency brochures or watch The Wonderful World of Disney, which occasionally would have stuff about Disneyland. But for the most part, you really didn't have a fandom for Disney until AOL and CompuServe and something called the Usenet started. You had to dial up on your phone with your computer in here, ooh, and then eventually you would dial up and it would be super slow and it would take 10, 20 minutes for a single image to upload, and there it would be. David, the future. The internet had arrived, and there was a man on this internet, and his name was Lutz. And Al loved Disneyland and loved to complain about Disneyland. If it wasn't perfect, Al was gonna let you know. And we started doing meetups in the hub at Disneyland every Sunday. And we found out in the early days of the internet that people were becoming billionaires by starting, David, wait for it, websites. Websites, can you imagine? There was a site called pets.com, and the people who started it became so rich that we decided to start a website together. All of us that would meet on Sunday at Disneyland. You have to forgive me because my sunscreen is rolling into my eyes and my eyes are watering. And we started this website, which shall remain nameless, to protect the guilty. But so many of us got together and we started writing about the things we love. But as in all things, when you have a lot of strong personalities, it eventually spun apart. And out of the ashes, a phoenix arose. And that phoenix was Lutz. And he started miceage.com, where he could tell you all on Tuesdays what was going on at Disneyland, the latest gossip, the rumors, what he liked, what he hated. And I eventually started micechat.com, a separate website that was just a forum, a discussion forum for all of you nerds to talk about the things that Al was talking about or what he wasn't talking about, anything you wanted. But then Al came down with Parkinson's disease. And I had been living with him up in West Hollywood, and I was dating his best friend at the time. And oh my gosh, I don't even know if I can do this, David. Can you hold my glasses for a second?
Want to get in the shade? That help?
Yeah, I'm just gonna stand here in the shade. There, the Matterhorn in the background. It's very pretty. So, I was dating his friend, and you know, we decided that we're just going to be friends. Not Al and I. Of course, Al and I were very good friends, but Al's best friend and I decided that we weren't going to date anymore. We were just going to be friends. And we've remained friends all of these years, and I moved down to Orange County to be closer to Disneyland and start writing more. So up until then, I'd just been the guy running MiceChat, the admin of the site, kind of trying to keep the peace, you know, when people would fight. And Al wanted nothing to do with it. He wanted nothing to do with the forums because he thought that forums in general were toxic. He just wanted to focus on writing. And it was a nice way of doing things because he didn't have to be on the forums. I would take care of him. But when he found out he had Parkinson's and it was getting harder and harder and harder for him to type on the keyboard because his whole body was shaking, I insisted that he move in with me in Orange County. And for the longest time, Al lived with me, and I helped take care of him, helped write his articles, help finish his articles. So much over time, more and more that I was doing, and eventually Al really couldn't write at all anymore. He would have ideas, and then, you know, I'd find a way, or others would, to write it up, and we decided to merge MiceAge and MiceChat into a single website. And that's why today, if you visit miceage.com, you end up on MiceChat. And that's why, because Al had Parkinson's disease. In 2012, he told me that he just wanted me to take over all of it, because he knew that if I did, it would continue in some way, and he could still be part of it, and that I would always make sure that the things he was fighting for would still be important. That when Disney did things right, we would let people know, but when they did things wrong, we would also let them know about that. And that is where we've remained all these years. Of course, my tone is a little different than Al. I'm not Al. I have, you know, a different way of writing than Al does, but the idea is the same, that when I love something, I let you know, and when I hate something, I let you know, and when I think something can be improved, that it's good in its heart, but it's just not quite there, I let you know that as well, like I did today with Tiana's Bayou adventure. Sadly, earlier this week, while I was in Orlando for that press event, Al lost his struggle with Parkinson's. His friend that I had dated all those years ago called and gave me the bad news. It was already at my press event. Everyone instantly knew something was wrong, and I had to tell everybody that I had had a death in the family and that I needed to leave. And I didn't tell anybody what it was at first, because I knew that I had to write something up to tell the world about Al before they would see it in another forum, because I just didn't want the people that were Al's detractors, and he had plenty of people that hated him, you know, that just didn't like the fact that he was honest, right? There's a lot of those people out there. We call them the Disney defenders or the foamers, who just can't hear any negative. There's a lot fewer of them today because of Al, but rather than let them say, hooray, you know, he's dead, I wanted to have the truth out there about him. And it was one of the hardest things, David, that I've ever had to do, was try and figure out how to write that when I was so emotionally raw and devastated. Of course, I've known for quite some time that Al has not been doing well. And every time I thought about maybe writing a few things down, I couldn't. Because I didn't want to believe that it was true. But the truth is, circle of life, that we all have our moment in the sun. And Al is lucky that he has left such a legacy on so many people that, whether they know him or not, Al has changed the way the whole Disney fan community is. He helped create the Disney fan community. He helped create a tone of honesty about the fan community. And today, with TikTok and Instagram and million blogs, there are a lot more people out there trying to be Al today than there used to be. So, Al, you live on in all of us. And every time I'm here at Disneyland, I mean, there's a million stories. I mean, a million things. I pass by, every burnt out light bulb is a little bit of Al. At Light Magic, looking up and seeing on every night of that horrible show, another light bulb burned out and another light bulb burned out. And soon the Save Disney campaign was started by Roy Disney, and he was wanting to throw out Michael Eisner, and we got involved in that too. And all of that, at the core of that, was Al Lutz. And we all owe him a debt of gratitude. I hate to think what Disney would be like today if there hadn't been an Al holding Disney's feet to the fire. Today, we're all a little bit of Al, and it's all of our responsibility to make sure that the Disney that you want is the Disney you get. So if you're not happy with what you're getting from Disney for the $200 you pay, or that you don't like buying the lightning lane to have to ride a ride, or you don't like how long the waits are getting, or that the food quality isn't what you want, or that a new ride is sort of lame, speak up. Tell them what you think. Because if you don't, nothing's ever gonna change. And that's Al's legacy. We love you, Al. Thanks for everything. I know he's having a churro right now with Walt, probably eating 4 turkey legs, because he wasn't the healthiest eater. To honor our Al, we're having a classic My Sage meetup at Disneyland on Sunday the 30th of this month. So June 30th, central hub of Disneyland to Walt's right hand. And that's where we'll be, end of this month on Sunday, where we were every Sunday. It was Al's favorite part of the week. He got to meet with his friends. He got to have some junk food. He got to ride a ride and talk to all of us about what the latest gossip was. So I hope you'll join us for a little bit of that in honor of Al, June 30th at noon, the central hub of Disneyland. I love you all. Thank you so much for being so great to me this week, for allowing me to wander today aimlessly because my head is just jello. We love you, and we're going to keep doing this forever, because just like Al, I won't be here forever, but someday there'll be somebody else, hopefully, that picks up from me, and that this will continue on and on and on, that we will always be there to make sure that Disney is your Disney. Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll be back with you again real soon. Bye-bye.
Oh yeah, you go from that side.